Insurance is a subject that has catapulted up the list of conversations that we have with members. There is little doubt we've seen a shift in the attitude of the insurance sector to construction, and this is a growing concern. With more pressure to take professional indemnity insurance, we've also seen the price increasing and restrictive endorsements creeping in. To look at this in more detail, I'm delighted to be joined by James Reed. James is a former solicitor advocate who specialises in insurance and reinsurance matters. In addition to his legal experience, James also holds an MSc in construction law and international disputes resolution, and now focuses on his insurance boutique, designed to assist his construction clients through quality advice relating to their risks and insurance needs. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Ian. Thank you for asking me to come and speak with you.
No problem. So my first question to you, James, is how has the insurance sector view of construction changed in recent years?
Well, we've certainly seen a shift in attitudes. One of the industry publications, the Insurance Times, in August of this year, talked about the continuing distress of the construction industry with rates hardening or rates increasing. Clearly, there have been some well-publicised losses and tragedies around the construction industry, but certainly from my experience of when I was dealing with claims and dealing with insurance risk profiling for projects, construction projects and infrastructure projects, there was an attitude of there needs to be greater disclosure and transparency between what clients are showing the insurance companies, and a little bit of distrust on both sides of the equation.
So James, what type of cover is currently available, and where do you see, so obviously insurance is a complex market, where do you see the challenges in providing cover at the moment?
Well, in terms of the covers that are relevant to your membership, so you've clearly got contractors all risk, you've got professional indemnity, and the standard sort of product and public liability, employer's liability, and then you've got the non-fault negligence under the JCT bolt-on. In terms of the challenges that one will face, I mean, the difficulty is meaningfully engaging with your insurance risk program and not leaving it till the last minute. I think one of the things that you and I have discussed before in relation to the toolkit is having that opportunity to spend time and resource on actually looking at your risk exposures, and then being able to translate that, having a conversation with your broker or your insurance advisor, or indeed the FIS, to really understand, crystallize what risks you're exposed to, what risks you may be exposed to in the coming year, and then being able to translate that to insurers to provide them with the comfort that your risk is well managed.
So, because insurance is very much a trust-based industry, isn't it, James? It's an old-fashioned trust-based sector, and a lot of what needs to be done in order to soften the market, I guess, is rebuilding trust.
Yes, the insurance policy is the principal maxim is utmost good faith. So clients or brokers go to underwriters and present the risk, and they are obliged to provide all of the risk management and sort of warts and all assessment of where that company is when insurance is being taken out. And that the difficulty is that insurance can be done, particularly when you have to fill in what are relatively dry application and proposal forms with sometimes seemingly pointless questions. It's about that is risk management at arm's length as far as I'm concerned, and it's really around providing quality. Your other speakers were talking about providing value, providing quality, and looking at innovation. The insurance industry by design is behind the curve. Things are being done to move risk profiling forward and to educate underwriters as to construction processes. But really, it's about engaging with individual insured's risk profile and being able to articulate that to an underwriter so that they understand what they're underwriting.
So do you think in general terms, James, the insurance industry understands us, or are they judging us by sort of yesterday's standards and things they hear in the Grenfell Review?
I think there's a bit of both. You would ask most brokers, most underwriters who are experienced in the sector, and they will say that they understand construction, they understand how things work. But my view is, when I was an insurance and reinsurance lawyer dealing with disputes, I had claims that came down to the definition of self-imposed load. And between the disciplines within the construction industry, whether that's geotechnical, structural, architectural, or the specialist subcontractors who are doing ground treatment works, that they all have different interpretations. And I think that is one of the key aspects. Certain terms mean different things to different disciplines, and it's about translating that into words that are understood universally.
Yes, I mean, certainly an area that we're looking at is sort of risk as a currency in construction and risk management as a currency in construction. So a role of the FIS is to help the good companies win. So some of the products we've produced, so for example, our product process people quality management tool, and today's launch of the business assessment tool is really a concerted effort to try and better understand and identify risks within the sector, working as a collective, as a community, because these aren't static documents. They're things that will evolve as we get questions, as we get challenged on it. So I encourage people to use and challenge us. I mean, do you see those tools as being helpful, James, as part of that equation?
Definitely. I mean, the move away from the traditional form of contracts into a more what we used to refer to as live contracts. So somebody was updating them. It is about, if you're looking at quality, if you're looking at getting the right pricing. I mean, we've all seen the distressing increases in premiums around the construction industry generally, and some of them have been horrific because of disasters such as Grenfell, such as COVID. We've seen increases during the COVID period, and that is the complex nature of and web of contracts that you have around a project is really difficult to try to unpick and be able to articulate in an insurance context. Where does one's liability stop? Where do the obligations and the liabilities stop for each individual discipline? It's an industry on itself.
Yeah, so they're tools we'd encourage members to use in their interactions with their own brokers, and we're starting to talk to the underwriters up the supply chain to help introduce those tools and to sort of demonstrate better risk management, because I say we don't want to be judged by yesterday, and we don't want to be judged by what's happening, particularly through the Grenfell inquiry at the moment. And so moving on to the next slide and the next question, James, what do you think the impact of legislative change will be on the way that risk is viewed?
As I say, my first bullet point there, more accountability. Legislation is useful, and one can, but it's a bit of a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Realistically, we are in a situation where there are higher premiums. The legislative changes that have happened since 1996, and you look way back to the Housing Grants Act, the Construction Act. Now you've got the Building Safety Bill, and others related to what new homes are required to have in them, their connectivity, their energy efficiency. That unfortunately, due to the nature of insurance, creates uncertainty. It creates there are new roles being created, new responsibilities, new liabilities that are being for people to be held accountable for signing off the safety of buildings. Who's going to be taking on that role? What are their responsibilities? Which committees are they going to be liaising with? What are those committees going to be saying? So if you're buying an insurance policy that is essentially off the shelf because of the nature of insurance and has been signed off a year previously, with legislative change comes a period of bedding in and a period of the lawyers trying to find out what each individual phrase and legal meaning has for different clauses and different roles and responsibilities, and that will inevitably have an impact on risk profile and the insurance around it.
And one of the areas, again, that's concerning us in this area, James, is that this is being managed. One way that construction notoriously and sometimes insurance manages accountability is to try and write it out. So we write it out of the contract and chuck it over the fence at somebody else. And we are seeing some fairly onerous endorsements creeping into policies, particularly around fire safety, that are difficult to interpret and potentially quite wide-reaching, that could present additional risk to our members.
Yes, underwriters are incentivized to put a panacea, put a full exclusion or restriction on types of works that are being undertaken, and indeed particular sectors or forms of work that are being undertaken. And generally speaking, they're doing that because if you see it from their perspective, they don't want to be picking up very large losses that are result from it. Therein lies the disconnect between what actually happens in reality and what happens, what each individual discipline is doing and part of their job. And it's incumbent upon both the client and their insurance representative, whether that be the FIS or their incumbent broker or whomever, their in-house risk team, to be able to engage early with the market, the insurance market, to be able to then push back if possible, and or seek alternative styles and different forms of wording in order to try to get an insurance policy that's fit for its intended purpose, which is to protect the business.
I can't stress that early enough from the conversations we've had. Don't leave it till the normal time to look at your renewal. Go as early as you possibly can to start the conversation, because again, we're finding people at the 11th hour with very difficult decisions to make that are impacting live projects that they're working on. So James, just moving to our final two questions. There are sort of new models creeping into the market, so alternative models like integrated project insurance. Are these likely to drive profound change?
Depends on your definition of profound. I think ultimately they're a great idea, very, very laudable. Alliancing is something that's been around for a while. Certainly, I studied it at great length in my master's degree, but the idea, as we've heard from a number of your speakers thus far, it's about culture. It's not about tweaking the policy. I mean, if you look at the way that IPI is supposed to work, it is around non-fault. It is around doing away with the complex nature of responsibilities, and it's ring fencing or providing a all project type insurance. Clearly that is going to come at a premium, and it requires a great deal of what's referred to as open book accounting, and everybody working together and trying to find the best solution and agreeing things moving forward. Whether that can happen in reality is cultural, actually. And yes, if it's right for that particular project and all of the team is on board, all of the disciplines to deliver that project are on board, great. But I think in the interim, in the short term, it will be difficult to deliver except on the very large projects.
Yeah. So you don't think we're close to this point where this is a necessary now? There's still opportunity to evolve the way that we're currently working with the insurance sector more involved, maybe.
Yes, I mean, as we've said before, working with the risk tools that you've got and that you're launching, and the engagement and you know, in terms of top tips for your members, it would be early engagement. Look at your risk profile, look at what your risks are exposed, ask the questions: what am I exposed to? This is what I do on a day-to-day basis. This is what I will be doing for my following year. Then can I, you know, what should I be looking at here, and what am I covered for the things that I need to be covered for? And ask the details on the question. Unfortunately, insurance policies are they can be quite full of legalese, and, you know, 30 or 40 pages of clauses, but your whoever your insurance advisor should be able to tell you what they mean, and that you are buying something that is fit for your intended purpose. It doesn't need to be an off-the-shelf product. It can be tailored to your business. And if you need to tweak your business in terms of your risk management, I would recommend doing that, and again, seeking advice on that.
James, that's been exceptionally interesting. If anybody's got any questions for James, please do fire them in. We'll put them to him. We'll follow up afterwards. Our plea from us at FIS is the new tools that we're launching. Please use them, and yeah, they're there to help us sort of avoid being smacked in the head on a Tuesday afternoon by things that we didn't see coming. So again, if people are using them and they see things that we've missed, because there's likely to be things we've missed, then please let us know, because that's a tool that we can develop as a community, and something that we can take to the insurance industry to demonstrate that we are adopting more effective risk management through our part of the supply chain. So James, on behalf of the FIS membership, thank you very much indeed for your contribution today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Take care.